Good evening. Welcome back to the Mancunian way. My name is Martin. I'm your host, and I am joined by fellow dinosaur, Rich. Good morning, mate. Good evening.
Good morning. Morning. What dinosaur would you be? I always like to try Ceratops.
Do you know what I am?
Go on.
You're going to think I'm going to say T-Rex. I am a velociraptor.
I
Cunning,
thought you were going to say
quick.
Brontosaurus, but anyway.
Brontosaurus? No, that's Alan. That's Alan. Anyway, good evening, everyone in the chat, and welcome to the episode 1 of a brand new series. And it isn't just going to be a one-off. This is going to be forever on the channel. We're going to try and get different guests on each week. We're going to get different memories on each week. We're going to have different things. But today, we just wanted to do episode 1 of the Main Road Days. Hoping to get Big Steve on, Ian Cheeseman, loads of fans who were there, saw it all, etc. We won't bring Alan on because we all know Alan joined us in 2020. It's a joke. But there we go. Let me just say some hellos and then we'll crack into the good old. There it is. Good evening. Hope you're all well. Welcome to a new series, Main Road Days, where each week we will talk different subjects on Main Road. Tonight is matches and introduction to Main Road. So good evening, Mingy Wong. How are you, mate? I'm going to love this new series. Thank you. Glad you will. It's something new for once. Yeah. There's no transfer. No roles are boring. We just wanted to do something a little bit different. And also, it's something that will never get old. You will look back on this show in 10 years and it will still be relevant in 10 years' time than what it is today. Same way Rich is.
You'll just be 10 years older.
I wonder when Martin's first game was at Main Road. You know what my first game was at Main Road. So, hey, Coventry City, anyone? Steve Agrizovich. Hello, says a guy who does anything. Fan of the best Man City fan, Sir Alan, MCF Sar Raid. Yes, welcome. I hope you're going to be sensible because I hope you're not going to start your cheeky out stuff tonight because we don't do that. Well, you can, we don't. Pardo Oaks, good evening, mate. How are you?
We'll be talking about Main Road when the idea of directors of football was just
that was gone.
Future idea.
And also very prevalent. Well, obviously, Sir Howard Birdstein passed away in the last few days as well, which very relevant to the old Main Road. Hello, if you are over from MCFR, welcome. Get over there. Give them a lot of love at MCFR TV. Give them a lot of love. Hit that subscribe button. But thank you for the sending everyone over. Really, really appreciated. No, it started at 10, as we always do. Connor Rigby's in the house. Cloudy's in the house. We need his reaction. What reaction? Rowy's never starting. Yes, Elder. How are you, mate? Thank you very much, MCFR TV. Get over there. Show them a lot of love. Kovacic and Gavardio back early. Croatia out. I'd say it's how much I cared about the Euros. I couldn't give a damn. A few photos there at the beginning as we showed you of the old girl herself. The old girl herself there, Main Road. AK4 Peach, yes, Bray. DC's in the building. Hello, fellow treble winners and 4-peat champions. Good evening. Hope you are well, DC. The younger Beatles are getting irritated by us, Main Road. See you next Tuesday, rattling on about how they're ungrateful. Yeah. I was telling Rich off air how I've become a Main Road see you next Tuesday by Knitting and his gang. Oh, no. So even went as far as apparently I'm paid by the club to be pro Manchester City. I bloody wish. I wish I was paid by the club.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't be paying you to talk about Main Road anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah, they wouldn't be paying me. City don't like talking about Main Road. Never mind anyone else. Not in my lifetime. Good evening, Luke. Let you know there is no not in my lifetime this week because Alex is moving house, apparently. So good luck to Alex in moving house. Everyone just saying hello to one another. Ray Fernley, how are you, mate? You may enjoy this one, buddy. A little bit of Main Road action. A real one. A guy who does anything. Hello. Hi, Martin and Rich. Good evening, the judge. Justin Guest is with us. How are you, mate? Hope you are well. Martin once told me he never went to Main Road. Don't lie. I need to speak to you, by the way, off air in a bit. Right? Not as many blues about the Stars City on top at Main Road in the late 60s and 70s. I didn't watch the great Colin Bell team. Rich did. Alan did.
No, sadly, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
Sadly, I'm too young. Alan did, I think.
MCFC, thank you so much for your very generous super chat. Good evening, lads. I was with Sam Lee on the LMT pod, and he said in passing that he thinks City will probably get Bruno in at some point, but it just seemed his opinion. And did you listen to it? No, I haven't. I'm not going to go into a lot of the transfers. We'll do that Thursday. Tonight is Main Road. So I know some of you, I have no updates on transfers. So if you don't hear for transfers, I apologise. It's not that show. This is all Main Road. So if you've got a question about Main Road, whether you were there or you want to tell us about memories, get them in the comments. But this is more topic general tonight. So I do apologise. Yes, Martin from Lee Gunner's raid. Lee Gunner hasn't raided me. No way. Lee Gunner doesn't even. I'd love to get Lee Gunner on here along with Dan Potts, but I don't know how to get in touch with Lee Gunner. So I have tried. I don't know how to get in touch with him because he's a top gunner. First game, very honest as well. First game at Main Road was Swindon 1996. 96, 97. Was that the 3-0? Would that have been the 3-0? Kevin Harlock. Remind me, Adam, because I know we beat them 6-0 the year after. Lee Bradbury scored in that. Tells you how bad Swindon were. No problem, not my viewers, but I thought I'd try and help. No, mate, don't worry, I don't know. I was doubting if that was at me or what. We never win at home, and we never win away. Evening, Andrew. How are you, mate? I hope you are well. You might enjoy this one tonight. See Main Road on the telly, our first home. Classic home. Martin, the paid ITK. Apparently, I'm paid, yeah. But yeah, I wish I was paid. Oh, dear. Kyle Smith has renewed his membership for 2 months. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, mate. Really appreciate it. Let you know, by the way, there is a members giveaway at the end, and we're giving away some DVDs. And by the way, these have been bought off eBay. These are not even my collection. And what we have for you tonight is, this is if you want to go down speed. I thought I'd do this tonight while we're at Main Road. Let me just turn my background off. Rich is going to reminisce now. Let me just turn my background completely off. We have a City Life, as you can see. I bought it off eBay. I've been waiting for them to come. A season review of the 2004-2005 season. Don't expect many goals in that one. We have also got the Sky Blues, which is the 3-4 season, when, believe it or not, a certain David James went in goal, went up front.
I think in that 04-05 season, didn't Pep in 1 month score more goals?
Yeah. I've also got
record breakers in the season.
I got a really good selection of now and then, so people could have a little bit of both. Record breakers, Centurions, so the 100-point review season is there. Now, this is a special one. I had to pay a little bit more for this. Now, I think a lot of them are Region 0, so they should work in America, but we'll see. And Celebration of Main Road, believe it or not, a 2-disc, where this one is End of an Era, and disc number 2 is the Main Road to Glory. 2-disc set, all on Main Road, which I thought we'd give away tonight as part of the channel. There you go. Always thinking that. Right, Rich, when I tell you Main Road, what do you think of? What are your initial thoughts?
Honestly, when I talk about Main Road, I still remember, the first time you walk out and saw the ground. As a little kid, I think I first went 7 years old, and you know, I'd been a City fan. I had my little City kit from Jim Hall Sports in Didsbury, you know, back in the Umbro days. And my uncle took me, my mum's brother. He was a season ticket holder back into the 60s. It was the early 80s when I was a kid. And I just remember that just sheer excitement of going there. And when you're a little kid and you just see the size of the stadium, and you go in, and it was just, you know, takes your breath away. And you get a Vimto and a wagon wheel at halftime, and you know the singing, the noise. And you know what's funny? One of the things I most remember of the first game is the moaning. You know, the main stand man. I must have been sat next to Alan or something years before I knew him, but it was just this absolute incredible experience. And it was, you know, I was in a very different part of town to the new stadium. In the Main Road was over in Moss Side, so you know, whilst we're kind of, I guess, central East Manchester now, it was, you know, going into South Manchester, just sort of southwest of the centre. Quite a rough area, but it was a stadium really in the houses as well. So instead of kind of walking down a canal and vast open spaces in a lot of the ways when you go to the Etihad, Main Road, you walk down narrow alleyways behind houses, you know, lots of terraced houses in every direction. And all the alleyways you walk down would have glass put into the cement on the back of the houses, because it was a rough area. And you know, Manchester was a lot rougher in the 80s than it's been a bit gentrified, or parts of it, I should say, have been gentrified in recent times. And so you had this kind of going around these back streets through these alleyways, and suddenly this stadium appeared, and then you went and watched the boys. And the other thing I kind of really remember about Main Road was, as a kid, going to Junior Blues, going to the City shop, saving up your pocket money to go to the City shop, which was basically a porter cabin, and wasn't even owned by the club. It was owned by a news agent, Eddie Phillips, who ran a little news agency in Didsbury, and running the City shop was his kind of part-time job that he ran alongside it. Big Blue and his wife would always be working in the City shop, because half the time he was having to run the news agency on a Saturday. And then you had the social club where the Junior Blues met. And Junior Blues, as a kid 7-8 years old, you could go down on once a month on a Sunday morning, and you could meet a load of players. There'd be 2 or 3 players would come along just to talk to kids, give tips, you know, do a little interview. And at Christmas, they even did a pantomime. You'd have a whole group of players, like quite a few of them, would come along, and they'd do this pantomime for the kids, which was you just can't believe that is the same sport in terms of its absolute unprofessionalism as you've got today. You know, toilets with about 2 inches of piss on the entire floor. So as a little kid, you almost felt you needed stilts to go to the loo. Standing, you know, in the Kippax, you still had standing. You had people crammed in. Every stand looked different. You know, some stands had like pretty much wooden benches. Others had, you know, modern seats. Kippax was standing. You know, I remember the fences at the front because of the hooliganism in the 80s, when they put in the fences that tragically led to the Hillsborough tragedy. So you'd be down the front, and you would have a sort of 6-8 foot metal fence in front of you, and you'd be watching through the bars. It was just a different game, and I think people probably would struggle to imagine it now if they hadn't been there back in the day.
No, and I think it was one of them really old, quirky stadiums that was very, and I will put it, it was an old-fashioned English stadium. It was in the middle of an absolute housing estate, council estate, on Moss Side, which was the working end of Manchester. It was a bit rough. And even the whole area has changed around it now anyway. It is a very, very different area completely now. mean, it really, really is. I went down it the other day, and it was very. Even the drive down's different now because everything's modern and everything's changed, and it's you don't have like you know as you go down New Tree Road and the old schools are very different now and everything else. It is a very different thing now. What I wanted to do was I wanted to show you a couple of pictures. This was Maine Road when it first opened. So there you go. When we went from Hyde Road, from Pink Lane over to Hyde Road, and then that's Maine Road then, and that was Maine Road as we left. As you can see there. So Rich was the one going on your left, and I went to the one on your right. Because Rich loved a little bit of black and white there. Now, this was what Rich was talking about, what Maine Road was like. So you basically got terraced houses, your old-fashioned Manchester terraced houses, and you could just see it. There's a famous, there's a long road called Princess Parkway, which takes you from the centre of town towards the motorways and down towards Manchester Airport. Now, as you approach the shops on Princess Parkway, if you look through the little cracks in the terraced houses, you would see Maine Road. And that's what it used to look like. So if there was any fighting or anything like that, everyone used to give down all these alleyways and side streets and etc. And obviously, that was the aerial view of Maine Road. So as you can see, it does look like something out of Coronation Street. Because that's what the beauty of Maine Road was. It had that proper smell, like the big stage. It was made, by the end of it was done by a blind architect. Because not one stand was the same. You had a modern stand built with a next modern stand. And the north stand and the main stand, which was the one to your left as you're looking there, that is the main stand. The one that says MCFC, that's the north stand. And then you've got the two more modern ones, which is the most modern one was the Kippax, which was a 3-tier monstrosity, Manchester City, which cost just over 11 million quid, paid for by Francis Lee, our former chairman, who's now sadly passed away. And then there was the north stand, the Platt Lane stand, or the Umbro stand, or whatever you want to call it, which was the second most modern. Because it changed, because it used to be wooden benches and everything else. It was just known as the Platt Lane. And in the end, it wasn't called that. Obviously, they had sponsors and everything else that they had in there. And this is that was the back of the Kippax. Where you see there, that's where I used to park. My father, that was a car park there. We used to park in them cars. You go in them turnstiles, and that was the brand new 11.2 million, I believe, Kippax stand that was built by our late chairman, Francis Lee, former City player as well. And
how long was it open for? It was only about 10 years or something, wasn't it, if not less?
It opened in 1995. It closed 2003, so it was only
8 years. 8 years.
Didn't even get 10 years out of it. It cost more.
That sums up City. So City in those days so well that was built when they must have been building the other stadium.
No, who opened it? Can you remember who opened it?
No.
It got opened in August 1995 by Bert Troutman. Took a golf cart all the way around because he couldn't walk back then, old Bert. Sadly, again, RIP, not with us anymore. Great German goalkeeper, broke his neck in the FA Cup final against Birmingham City and played on. Was opened by late great Bert Troutman in a 1-1 draw with Tottenham Hotspur, where I think Teddy Sheringham scored when Spurs wore that awful purple bloody hanging kit.
Yeah. That was Jurgen Klinsmann.
And Uwe Rosler scored a header with the equaliser later on in the game. Also, as you can see there, we've talked about this so many times on the channel, but you can probably see here, just to the right of the Kippax stand, is the old Gene Kelly stand, which is exactly what it was. It was scaffolding with wooden straps put in, with plastic seating put on. It looks like that is not building work, ladies and gentlemen. That's an additional stand that was put in. There's one on the other side of the Kippax that was put in because they needed to get more people in.
Yeah, and I remember the free ponchos. You know, in I don't know some games
I never
anyway.
went Poncho Park, mate.
You got a free poncho when you went in, so that if it rained, which it did quite often, you were
I'll be honest
totally.
with you, mate. No.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much. I guess the Gene Kelly stand was pretty much like going to Old Trafford. You sit in the stand and you get absolutely drenched. Yeah, no, that was. Yeah, it was 1923. It opened, wasn't it? Because it was not. It never made. Obviously, never made its centenary. I think it was about 80 something years old.
Never made
when
the
it.
century.
When it went.
I'm going to come to your comments. I promise you. You probably got loads. So, some are just sharing stories, which is amazing. There was other parts as well. This was a picture of the Kippax as it was being built. Oh no, that was Chelsea. Ignore that. That's Chelsea's new ground. Ignore me. Don't know why that's come up. I thought that was the Kippax. It's Chelsea's ground.
I remember them in the seasons going up towards
Wasn't that
when
one?
The new Kippax was built.
The North Stand. That's the North Stand.
We'd all be singing. You'll never seat the Kippax. You'll never seat the Kippax.
It's me putting pictures of the leading Chelsea's new stand up. Yeah, as you can see there's the North Stand. Kippax just in coming into your view, but over in the corner was the Gene Kelly stand with no roof on, as you can see. So yeah, it was amazing. But a few little facts about Maine Road. Do you know when it was opened, Rich? Do you remember the first game in there?
It was opened in 1923. I'm pretty sure. I actually don't remember the first game. It was a couple of years before I was born.
23 season.
Yeah.
The first game in there, competitive. The English Old Division was, again, Tottenham Hotspur in a 3-0 win.
That's interesting because probably, to many people, the most famous game ever played at Maine Road, again, before our time, was called the Ballet on Ice, which was against Tottenham, wasn't it? And that was probably, so there's obviously a lot of history associated with Spurs there.
Obviously, as well, these are we're just going to give you some general facts, and we'll get back to the general combo as we're going around. But just some general facts. There was one Anglo-Italian Cup game played. There was 4 Charity Shields or Community Shields played at the old ground. 92 English Division 1, the new Division 1, as it is now, the Premier League. The old Division 1, when it used to be 3 points. In the old Division 1, the old one, the 20s one, was over 1,049 games. English Division 2, there was 23 games. The English Division 2 in the old style, there was 255. English Division 2 playoffs, there was only one, which was that Wigan Athletic game back in 1999. English Premier League, 120 games were played at Maine Road. 1 European Champions Cup was played at Maine Road. 8 Cup Winners' Cup games were played at Maine Road. 102 FA Cup games. Football League trophies won. Full Members' Cup matches, there was 9. 81 League Cups. 3 Texaco Cup games. And 7 UEFA Cup games. Do you know who the biggest goal scorer was at Maine Road? You know. Come on, you know this one, Rich. Rich, who's the all-time goal scorer after Aguero?
Yeah, his name has bloody gone from my bloody mind.
That's why you can't think of it.
Yeah, because the name's gone from my mind. I've got the wrong.
Eric Brock, 106 goals.
I just had Pete Doherty's name in mind. I'm like, it's not
him.
Yeah, he scored about half.
Joe Hayes, 88. Francis Lee, 86. Of course, there was 1,757 games played at Maine Road, 961 won, 397 drawn, 399 games lost. There was 3,458 goals at the old stadium, with over 2,000 conceded, and there was only 9 red cards.
Did Spurs score the first goal at the stadium?
No, because we won 3-0.
Ah, that's good. So
the first one
be typical City.
Tommy Johnson or Frank Roberts.
Right. No, just was
Wednesday, the
thinking
14th of March.
typical for us.
Now, the one thing I will say, I just need to come through these. AK, thank you for your gifted 10 members, mate. Really do appreciate that generosity, pal. And then you followed it up even more with a super chat. Absolutely amazing, mate. What was the name of the stadium during the Thomas Cook days? That was the City of Manchester Stadium. Or Comms, as it was called back then. Anyway,
and another interesting thing is that
appreciate that, AK.
Yeah, the name Maine Road obviously was Maine with an E after the US state, and that was all around the temperance movement. So it was actually, I think it was, the story was that there were a series of laws in Maine, known as the Maine laws, you know, during the, I guess, the big movement against alcohol. And so Maine Road was actually named due to some of the old churches in Manchester and some of the old people. It was named after their Maine laws, etc., and all to do with temperance, which was ironic, seeing as, you know, it was probably on a Saturday one of the biggest drinking spots in Manchester, with all the old bars and all the old pubs nearby. And I'd imagine, sadly, a lot of those, you know, with the estates going and with Maine Road going, I'd imagine a lot of those old pubs have gone as well. So a lot of the places you used to go to, the pubs, someone said the Chippy was still there, or was a few years ago.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not now. So all those things around it, the pubs, I remember that was at Claremont and the Beehive and the Main Road Chippy and lots of other things all disappeared as well. That brought the memories.
Mark Fogg's first game was 67-68, home to Liverpool.
That's a good season. Yeah. Mark Foggy, glory fan.
One of the games I want to talk about is one of my classic ones, which was 1996. I think it was around about March, as I remember. Manchester City 3, Newcastle 3. One of the greatest ever games I ever watched at Maine Road. And I had seen some amazing things. A few things stood out for me that day. You had Manchester City going for relegation under Alan Ball at the time. They were trying to escape it. And
I love it, mate. Going for relegation. I mean, it did seem like Alan Ball, we were going for it.
We were heading for the trapdoor and things weren't going well. And Newcastle were fighting United for the league title. And in January, they got out, or just a bit after, because there wasn't a January window back then. Their missing piece was Faustino Tino Asprilla from Colombia, who turned out to be the guy who actually lost them the title, not won them the title.
Rodney Marsh.
Pardon?
He was the Colombian Rodney Marsh.
Yeah, he literally made Newcastle lose the title. Facts. Honestly, go and watch it. They were flying until Asprilla walked in the door. I'm going to get to that one, don't you worry, BB. And I just remember a little Georgian of ours, George Kincladsey, ran the whole game, start to finish. He had the ball on a string, ran the game. It ended 3-3. Philip Albert, who'd never scored for Newcastle in his damn life, decided to become prime Alan Shearer that day for some weird reason. You had everything. You had Niall Quinn and Nigel Clough playing backflips with each other into the net, and I don't think any of them meant it. You had Uwe Rosler getting in on the act. City, it went 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 3 each, and nobody wanted to win it. You know, it was mad. It was a mad game. I'll just give you the lineups for anyone who does want to know about the actual game. It was basically people do talk about that as a Kincladsey game. They really, really do. There was some greats in that whole thing. There was Pavel Cernacek. There was Philip Albert. Keith Curl had a fight with Asprilla afterwards, where they had a little bit of a tangle.
And it would have been Rob Lee in midfield, wouldn't it?
Rob Lee,
Scotty Sellers,
Kit Simons, Newcastle were top at the time, and City were 18th. This is where Newcastle were top on 60 points, and City were 18th in the league on 24 points.
Yeah, this is when you go to typical City though, because there was so many. I remember when we went to Villa and we were bottom, they were top, and we turned them over, and that was probably a 3 or 4 year, 92 maybe 91. And then there's that game against Blackburn. We beat them 3-2 when they were competing with for the title and with United, I think. And we were bottom, they were top, and we beat them 3-2. We seem to have a habit of helping United or
well, we kind of did. With that time, we helped United all the damn time. What I'll do is I'm just going to give you the lineups in that game. I'll give you the City one first. There was Ike Kimmel in net, Scott Hyler. Sorry, I had to talk about him. Keith Curl, I salute you, Curler. Kit Simons, who went on to be assistant manager to Wales. Michael Brown, for some reason he's called Michael Robert Brown, but there was Mickey Brown, wore the old number 8. Nigel Clough, try and forget him. George Kinkladze, Steve Lomas, Nicky Somerville, Uwe, and Niall Disco Pants. Quinn. It was on Saturday, the 24th February 1996. There was 31,115 people crammed into Maine Road. Newcastle lined up Pavel Srnicek, Warren Barton, John Beresford, Stevie Howe, who eventually went on to don the blue of Manchester City, Darren Peacock with his old ponytail himself, Philippe Albert, who became prime Alan Shearer that day, Tino Asprilla, who, like I said, lost Newcastle the league when they signed for him, Lee Clark, Les Ferdinand, Peter Beardsley, who again, former Manchester City loanee, and David Ginola, who was the French winger who everyone loved. Always remember him scoring a blinder at Hillsborough for the old George.
He was a funny one because he's one of those players who probably like their version of Kinkladze in a way, who just have an absolute stinker. But when he was on his game, when he was on his day, he was just like this ridiculously good, kind of. But he was a bit like a pop star, He was as worried about his haircut and his flamboyance as he was about playing football.
It was really weird because City took the lead through now Quinn, which was the Nigel Clough shot, and Quinn sort of just back-heeled it. And I don't think he meant to back-heel it, but he did, to make it 1 each. Then Philippe Albert got the equaliser, just literally. As I seem to remember, it was about a minute or two. It was either at half-time or going into it. Then City took the lead again through Quinn. Then Tino Asprilla scored. The goal I remember was Asprilla was also one because I remember him coming in at the back post with his foot. It was like a ball that just missed everyone. It curled round, and Asprilla just got his foot, literally dived with his feet, with his foot arms outstretched, and literally just went in past him in the corner. Nothing you could do. And then Uwe Rosler put us 3-2 up, and then Philippe Albert just literally daisy cutted it into the corner, and Himmel stood there and went. And I just remember Philippe Albert running off, running to old KK himself, again, former City manager, to celebrate with him. And the reason why that game was so prevalent in my mind was because, like you said, Newcastle were top of the table by about 7, 8, 9 points at the time.
Mm.
And we always turned up against the top teams in that year. It was your Bolton Wanderers and who else was there? And Sheffield Wednesday, which we did beat a couple of weeks later, 2-1. But we always seem to have trouble against teams around us. And that's what
that was a weird season, that 95.
We got relegated on goal difference, may I add?
Didn't we have 1 point in the first 30? And then actually
we had 1 point. We had 1 point in the first
1 point from 10 games. Or was it 11 games? And
our first point
Yeah.
We beat Bolton on the weekend, and then we beat Aston Villa midweek, and that was November.
Yeah.
Our first
And we should have.
game in November.
Yeah, we should have stayed. We should have stayed. We should have stayed up, but it was actually not bad after the first 11 games. But when you give even the terrible teams around you like a 12-point head start,
yeah,
it's it's unimaginably hard. So it's funny you talk about 3-3. I think one of my biggest Main Road memories was a 3-3, but it wasn't quite the same kind of 3-3 because we were playing someone absolutely dreadful. Well, I mean, I suppose it's unfair to call them dreadful, but do you remember that? You might be a bit young, but that Bournemouth game when we were going for promotion, late 80s, and we were 3-0 up against Bournemouth, and we threw the game away, and Bournemouth came back and got a draw. And I think we could have gone up that day. I think we probably needed results to go our way elsewhere. But that was when I remember like throwing away a lead, which in those days going 3-up wasn't that common. It's pretty common nowadays, but in those days we probably only went up 3 goals a couple of times a season, and we threw away. And I'm sure it was someone like Luther Blissett or some old striker who'd come back and was playing for Bournemouth who got one of the goals. I was quite young, but that stands out in my mind. And the other one that stands out is back in those days, you used to play FA Cup replays that went on forever. And I remember against Watford, I remember Watford and Paul Simpson was playing. He was our best player. Seeing City Watford, and they played like 3 times, in about 10 days or something. It was like you play Saturday and then you go and play a replay on the Wednesday and then you play again the following Wednesday. And you'd have these mad games. It just seems like they're going to go on forever. I think not uncommon to go to the second replay, sometimes even the third replay back in those days. One of those things that has been taken away by, the Champions League, etc. Yeah, and that was really good for. I mean, obviously in those days, Watford, were a pretty decent team and they'd been up there at the top. But if a lower league club could get 2 replays out of a Premier League team, a big team, it was huge money.
I always remember Sheffield Wednesday doing that. The Sheffield Wednesday always had a knack for a replay, and so did Tottenham back then. My favourite game was at Ewood Parks as Batty Nicker. In the rain beat, that was on a Monday night.
Was that the Gary? Was that the Gary Flitcroft one, where Shearer scored in that game, didn't he?
By the way, I'm going to have to. My bloody thing isn't working now because I'm not showing you. All I'm going to do is that, and if anyone knows what I mean, Richard just mentioned Gary Flitcroft. That was his goal celebration because he literally just It was a bit annoying. Blackburn went and £3 million as well. Then again, Steve Lomas went to bloody West Ham for £3 million back then, which should have gone to Wimbledon, but you didn't learn, did you, Steve? 1-0 Sheffield Wednesday 96, first game. Again, Uwe Rosler was the winner. Remember Paul Hurst playing for Sheffield Wednesday that day. NUFC Talk TV, big up, mate. Cheers for you, obviously.
Wasn't it David Hurst?
Speak about that. David Hurst, yeah.
David Hurst, yeah.
I didn't want to say Jeffrey, but I'm sure they had a Paul Hurst as well.
Who was it he played up front with? There was 2 of them.
That's when they had Popescu. They had Popescu and who was the other Romanian that went to Chelsea? He went to Chelsea after back of his Sheffield Wednesday run. There was Popescu and Dimitrescu.
Yeah.
Dimitrescu.
There's somewhat. I can't remember. Yeah, could have
you
been
remember
good.
In the comments, let me know because my memory's good. It ain't that good. Should have got Alan on this. We're giving Alan.
Alan will be on.
Alan will be on it. Don't worry. Steve Howie, the lads for that day, played for them. Yeah, that's what he did say afterwards. Clough was terrible. His dad wasn't too bad.
Yeah, Clough. All I remember about Clough is I always wanted to have a race between Rick Holden and Nigel Clough to find out who the slowest player to ever play for City was, because Clough was, and his game wasn't built around pace, but he was so slow, and I could never understand how Rick Holden got himself to a relatively decent level of football.
And
He was a winger.
There was Petrescu and Demetrescu as well. There was a couple of them. Mark Fogg said opposite end to the late one Platt Lane. Oh, so you were in the North Stand. Mark Fogg here being a little fighter in the old North Stand. Ray Fernley says Colin Bell comeback versus Newcastle tearjerker. Yeah. Do you remember that one? I wasn't alive
before my time. Yeah,
keep them coming, Regs. The nearest I got to that was the Paul Lake one when he tried his comeback and failed, which that made me cry. And then I remember him coming out he played United in the derby at Main Road, and he tried doing the kickoff in his blue. He had like a blue knee cast on, which, it was sad. I felt with Paul Lake.
I never saw Bell-Lee Summerby, but I saw, in the first sort of seasons I went, I saw players like Joe Corrigan, Paul Power, Kenny Clements, Ace of Hartford. So those players are still playing.
I was in the 80s when I started going.
Yeah, no, I was in the 80s, but those players were playing.
You were late 70s. You were coming in late 70s, very early 80s.
Very early 80s. No, it was first game was in the 80s.
I was born in 82, Rich. I was like 80.
Yeah.
It was mid-80s when I went.
Yeah, so basically I went when you
were... DBA with his memories wasn't ball manager of the month. He was manager of the month in November. He was. We also got a 1-0 win away at Aston Villa in the second to last game.
I just remember that Alan Ball was in just as Oasis were, becoming the biggest band in the world, and they had that Wonderwall version for Alan Ball. And I remember going down to Southampton away, and we just sang that song for I think it was 0-0 or 1-1 or something. It was not many goals, pretty dull game, but I just remember Alan Ball got sung for an hour, which I don't think he really deserved with hindsight.
No, he didn't. I used to like Ike Kimmel. See, have you cheered about Ike Kimmel? He's gone bankrupt, nearly. You know that? He's living on...
yes, he's got absolutely...
He's in a bad place, his old Ike. Simon Tracy, don't remind me of him, because Simon Tracy let in 5 goals at the Swamp. John Burridge on the emergency loan, Still proves that bitch could get a game at City.
And there was some real, there was some they're kind of amusing cult heroes, but then we did have players like Jerry Craney and
we're coming to the note, because one of the episodes in a few weeks is the worst ever players to play at Main Road. We're going to do the best, but we're going to have some fun and do the worst. And trust me now, I'm sorry if you're watching or do watch, but Jerry Craney and Barry Conlon will be getting mentioned in the worst ever players to play at Main Road. I do apologise, because we had some utter tripe. Martin, did you ever have to pay the kids to watch your car? No, I didn't, because I told you we parked in the Kippax car park at the back of U3 Road. Yeah,
no, we always paid the I'll never paid the kid. We used to park out,
Did you tell everyone why though? Tell everyone why you had to pay the kid.
Because your car was screwed if you didn't pay him. I'll never forget. I'll never forget coming back. Like we pulled up. It would have been in an old Mini or something, and then some fancy dancy BMW pulled up, and the kids asked the guy for money, and he was just rude to him. And we got back to the car similar time to him, and the kids had just taken a key and just gone all the way around his car a couple of times and scratched it. And so he comes back, and I don't know what that would have cost in those days, but nowadays, if he did that to a Beamer, it would be thousands and thousands to fix up.
Yeah.
And the bloke was having a meltdown, and it's like, well, you could have paid £1 like everyone else did around you, and you had a lot more money than anyone else, judging by your car, and you chose to be a wanker, and now your car's destroyed.
You chose to be a tight ass fisted son.
Yeah.
You got your car done. Your choice.
Yeah.
You're in Moss Side. If you don't know what went on in Moss Side back then, And by the way, that's not me being against anyone. Anyone from Manchester, you did not dick around in Moss Side. You used a bit of brains. You did not dick around in Moss Side.
Well, I remember as a real little kid, and this would have been about the time you're born. It might have been the year before, but the Moss Side riots, that there were like full-on riots all over Britain, and you had Handsworth in Birmingham and Toxteth in Liverpool. Moss Side kicked off.
Yeah,
I think it was Brixton in London. Yeah. So you had riots all over the country, and my mum used to teach in Hume, which is right next to Moss Side, and she was a primary school teacher there for a long while. So she actually worked there and knew the area quite well and was pretty comfortable in the area, really liked it. But, you know, and I remember once going down, this is what Moss Side was like, and going down there with my mum, and I was like 13, and she's all like happy and relaxed. And I'm like, and we're there on a Wednesday night or something, not for the football. She had to pick something up from school. And I'm like, we're going to get bloody robbed. And then this big gang of kids and youths over by a shebeen. And two of the kids come riding over on BMXs, obviously to suss us out. And I'm like, oh, this is like, we're going to get robbed. And they ride up and they just went, hello, Mrs. Williams. We'll look after your car. And then rode off. And like they two kids, there were two kids who'd been in her class, and like primary school teachers, most kids seem to like them. So then she's like,
don't like me.
Well, things have changed in the last 4 years. It might be me.
Well. I might be the bad teacher. No, but Conor Rigby, thank you for renewing your membership for 2 months. We've got over 200 members now. You are all superstars. Adam, why do you have to put that? Because you're going to set Rich off. Getting beat by Wigan.
Adam, yeah, he has that. That is like a red rag to the bull. That double, I went both the home and away game that season when Wickham did the double over us.
Thought we drew it, yes.
No, we lost 1-0, late goal. I remember, I don't know if he scored, but I remember just being outraged that Jermaine McSporran came on.
No, that was at home he scored.
Yeah, no, but he came on as a sub in the away game.
I never got over it.
It was like February, and it was in a B&Q car park, their stadium. It was just
I never got over it, Main Road. We've gone way off topic here, but this is what Main Road Day is going to be about. We're just going to go off on tangents. Do you ever remember playing Oxford United? And there was a player for Oxford, a legend for Oxford, called Joey Beecham.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like Colin Bell to us. Joey Beecham is like that down for Oxford. And I'm not talking about when it was the Kassam Stadium. I'm talking when it was the run-down, looked like a B&Q built-up stadium down at Oxford.
The Manor.
Called Manor Road. It was called Manor Road, wasn't it? Manor Road?
Yeah, it was just known as the Manor by everyone.
I do remember King Clancy scoring a pearler there one year on a Sunday afternoon under Frank Clark, which was nice. Scored a couple.
Yeah, I actually knew Joey. You
won't remember this. We got beat by Oxford United. We beat them 3-2. Sorry, we beat them 3-2. And we also got beat by them. And I always remember going, Oxford United have come to Main Road. And you know, and some might not remember this, the away fans at Main Road were up in the corner of the North Stand. So you had the kit packs there, and you had the North Stand, you had the kit packs. Facing the kit packs, you had the main stand. Behind the goals was the North Stand and Platt Lane. The North Stand, top right, or little top right block is where the away fans used to go. Now, they used to get 2 or 3 blocks if you brought 2,500. Oxford United had 2 or 3 rows. I kid you not. They had 2 or 3 rows. The whole away stand was empty. And Rich is laughing because, and they scored goals, and he was literally like, we were singing, did you all come in a taxi? There was that.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I once went with some mates to Oxford United away game in Rotherham in Tuesday night in January, and I think there were less than 100 away fans there.
Honestly,
and the ones who
they all came in a taxi.
Yeah, and the ones who came up, it was crazy. But yeah, you used to have that. But you know, one thing that was a little bit different, and I still remember this as a younger kid, was when away fans used to infiltrate into the Kippax, because that I remember a couple of games where that happened, and when you used to have standing, and it was a bit easier to get tickets before membership of clubs came in, which was like in the mid-80s. Thatcher brought it in to stop hooliganism, but in the very early 80s, and this would have been much more rife in the 60s and 70s, you get groups of away fans who would try and infiltrate, whichever, whether it was the Clock End or the Holt End or the Kippax, they would try and infiltrate. And I remember once at a game, I'm thinking it's a derby, we lost 3-0 in the early 80s. I think Mark Duxbury and Arthur Orbison scored or something embarrassing like that. I remember about 100 United fans had got into the Kippax, and obviously when they scored, they celebrate, and then everyone's piling in to kick them out, and then the games would get stopped whilst they'd march the players out and march the fans out, either back into the stand they should have been, or they'd march them out the ground. But I remember a couple of times when, you'd get fans. I think it was a Spurs game where about a dozen Spurs fans got in and, start celebrating, and then everyone, piles in. And standing was different, because standing, you would get a goal and you would end up 10 meters away from, especially when you're a kid, from where you were. It was a kind of totally different experience to the much more sanitized version today.
Do you remember the tokens?
The tokens
in the back of the program. Ray, you made
yeah. I never collected.
You know what I used to do with the programs? I used to tick off the match day ones, because I can't remember the guy's name, but you used to always go get your programs at the ready and your pens, and you tick off like you did.
It's a question for the audience. Guess how much my first season ticket cost, and I'm sure it would have been for 42 games back in those days. I think it was.
You blew out here being a rebel jumping over the turnstiles.
Well, there used to be a lot of kids who would come in at half time, because they basically, after half time, they'd open up the about 50 minutes, they'd open up the turnstiles, probably because of all the moaners leaving early or people wanting to get back to their car. So you used to have, I remember, I think this is how Scallies like the Gallaghers used to get into the games. They'd you go down, and after 50 minutes you could get in for free. Bit like the 99 playoff final, where a lot of people got into the ground at the end at Wembley who hadn't got tickets, because after everyone left, they opened all the gates to let all the City fans pour out. And when Horlock scored, everyone starts piling back in. So a load of fans who'd been in the pub piled into the ground. So I remember chatting to one who came in and
beat by Stockport County 2-1. And Andy Kilner's team, you know, I remember that, Andrew and Rich. I rang up Century Sport that night. Used to be a talk show with Gary Owen, Mickey Thomas, and former Liverpool guy, can't remember his name, and Graham Sharp. And City had been beaten by Stockport 2-1. Andy Kilner was in charge. And I rang up, and my mate recorded it. I'm going to try and get the recording from somewhere, whether he's still got it. And I rang up to Gary Owen and went, can't believe it, how bad a Stockport, time wasted all the time. All I did was time waste, and Gary Owen was like, Stockport County have never beaten City. They wanted to beat us. Come on now. And I'm like, yeah. So I remember that. Andy Kilner. Frank Clark.
Yeah, there was that season when we were, quite comfortably, well, actually, there was probably someone worse. Rochdale was still worse. But I remember that season when, Oldham, Stockport, Bury were all either in the same league as us or in the league above.
14th of February 1997, Frank Clark's last ever game in charge. Worst derby memory was being 2-0 up, and then Roy Keane and Cantona. Roy Keane got 2, and Cantona, was it? Cantona got the winner. Was it Keane 2 or was it Cantona 2? I'm sure Roy Keane scored 2, I think, and Cantona got the winner.
Yeah, I think my worst derby memory was that Alan Wilkie. When
St. Bede's
1-0 up in the cup.
He didn't go to St. Bede's, because if anyone went to St. Bede's, I've got some stories about that. I sat the exam to go in St. Bede's. Smell of cigars. Can you get a pic? I will try and find out. It's a lot of them I will, because a lot of the images, Cade, are already protected, so I need to convert them. I'll do that for next week's show, I promise you. They went out and watched the bloke get dieted when I was in the Kippax mental. Curtains, that should have been. I remember Millwall when it all kicks off.
Do you know another thing that really was really different in those days is that because you didn't have mobile phones.
You're a legend.
Yeah, you didn't have mobile phones, and to be honest, about 1 in 100 people had some big transistor radio they put on the shoulder, but you didn't know what was happening around the game. So I always remember at half time, and then at the end of the game, they'd put up on the screen and read out on the tannoy all the scores from around the other grounds. So you'd have.
See if you've got the same story as I did,
and then you'd.
See if you've got the same story.
No, it's probably not. This is more general than a specific story.
I've got a story.
Yours, but I just remember, and then you'd find out that United lost or United.
No. This is the story. I can't remember what game it was, but I know the manager, and I'm sure it was Alan Ball, went absolutely mad at this. Might have been Frank. No, it might have been Joe Royal, actually. United were playing Porto at Old Trafford. On the same night, we were playing at home. And somebody announced that Porto had scored against United during our game.
Wow.
And one of the managers went, I can't remember, I was sat in the Kippax, and we all went, yeah, like, we weren't even in the Champions League. Why we were even doing that, I don't know. But we were celebrating United had either been scored against or we're getting beat. And the manager, I'm sure it was Joe Rowe, went absolutely sick and said that will never happen again. That is a small club mentality, celebrating and announcing during the game and it was during the game. It was during the game they announced United had been scored against.
That's exactly like, Ange getting mental at Spurs about,
See if anyone can remember who that game was against. Because someone, like Steve said, we were bitter back then. We were bitter blues. We were bitter blues back then. We were.
I just remember those years and years of, was it 14 years between derby wins when, really, we only won about one derby after I don't think we won a derby between 83 and 89 or something. Or between 80 and 89. We won that one. I'll tell you what, he's £1 out.
I won't do it.
He's £1 out. It was £19. So our first season ticket.
This will prove. And do you want to know? Because right now you didn't have phones and you didn't have scanning things. You got like a book. You remember them old raffle books?
A little book, yeah.
A little book with raffle tickets in. And it was 1 to about 6 there. There wasn't even 60 bleeding games. But they gave you a load of tickets. And what they did was, when you got to the ground, out dotted around the ground was little boards. High up, you had to look up, and it'd have your number for that on. Now, it wasn't going to go. Match 1 would be match 1. Match 2 was match 2. Match 1 might be ticket 28. And you give the guy your book, and he rip 28 out, and he give you the book back. And one year it was yellow, another year it was green, another year it was some in our very, very, very top of the line superstore that we had. You could buy season ticket holders. You get passport holders. They came out just as we were leaving Main Road. But I always remember that because my dad bought one, thinking it was.
Yeah, I always remember the people who'd rip out the wrong ticket and then they'd get into it.
You could guess it.
Yeah, it was back in the days when you could throw your season ticket on the pitch if you're unhappy. Because I do remember seeing some bloke throw, and this is when you had the metal fences, throwing his season ticket onto the pitch in disgust, and then desperately trying to get one of the stewards to go and get his season ticket and hand it back to him. Because in the early days, you'd throw it on, you'd jump over the wall, grab it, and run back into the stand. But when the fences were up, there was you couldn't get near the pitch. So and he's there, he's thrown it on, and he's all like Billy Biggles. And about 5 minutes later, it's like, oi, you know,
Get
trying
it
to
back.
get the steward's
I get
attention.
it back. Yeah.
Have it back, yeah.
Come and throw it in.
Yeah, shit, it's the third game of the season. I can't afford to waste it.
Well, BB's at what year was that, Rich?
The first season ticket would have been 83, 84, I think.
See,
So
I did my
before
first season ticket. I started going in mid to late 90s, 80s. My first game might have even been late 80s when we ever beat, we drew with Coventry. I can't remember now, but see, I remember Steve Agramovich. And I went every year after them. And I've had a season ticket well over 30 odd years now. So it's a long time. Anyway, well over 30 odd years, probably approaching 35 years now, 36 years. I've had a season ticket. I think it was 1992, I believe. The year before the Premier League.
We were pretty good in those days. I mean, that was
no, because I remember finishing fifth under Peter Reid.
Peter Reid, yeah. I mean, that was, that sort of era of what, 91, 92, 93, 94. Through to 95 when we had Kendall started to pull us together. Reid,
I don't think it was quite Kendall.
And then my favourite, Brian Horton. And we kind of went from that 1991 to 95. We had a bit of a renaissance. I think we had fifth, and ninth, which was miles better than anything we'd done since the late 70s. And obviously Alan Ball came in and completely ruined it because, I still don't know why we sacked Horton, because he had there's a lot of good memories for older Blues. There's a lot of good memories from that Brian Horton couple of seasons.
It was bad, Rich. Come on. No, it wasn't bad. It was going bad. It was
inconsistent. The problem was just deep inconsistency.
It was going bad, Rich. It really was.
We'd have games where, and we didn't have much solidity, but we had a lot of excitement, like Walsh and Rossler and Beagrie. Some actually really good football to watch, but we were equally capable of losing, getting beaten 6-0 or something. That was the real problem, was just zero consistency, and weren't very good defensively, despite the fact we had some good, Keith Curl and Terry Phelan, a couple of others, we're good players.
Yeah. No, you are right. No, it wasn't Tall. I've just checked. It was 1-0 when we beat Coventry. I've just asked my brother now. We got beat by Coventry 1-0, Civil Regis. Can't fully remember the game. I know Gravich played. So it was about 86, 87 when I first started. But I didn't get a season ticket till about 1989, 1990. Something along them lines. But yeah. Richard Edgell used to live behind us. I know where Richard Edgell lived. He lived on Roland Barnsley Estate behind the Willow Tavern, by your dick off. How I know? Because he was my sister's next door neighbour in his black convertible BMW. Tell me I'm wrong, by your dick off, and you can, because I know, because he was my sister's neighbour on Roland Barnsley. That's how I know. Top lad. Got a lot of stick though. The wall around made us to keep the crowd in, not keep them out. I agree with you. I think we're going to leave it there because we're only going to keep these about an hour just over an hour and a half because we don't want to. Next week, we're going to do the managers of Maine Road. So next week, I'm going to try and get a guest on. See who I can get to come on with me and Rich. We're going to do it every Monday at 10 p.m. Or might be night, but it'll be every Monday night. We'll do it. If that's all right with you, Rich?
Yep. Get like some good memories and that.
We're going to decide, but every Monday, unless there's a game, a City game, we'll do this. We'll get some guests on. And but next week we'll do the great managers or the not so great managers of Maine Road. So
and obviously there'll always be a bit of a bias. There'll always be a bit of a bias to what we've seen. I mean, obviously we can talk about some of the great managers who came before, but I think you know, there'll always be a bit of bias to what we've seen, but we'll try and get on some older guests who can go back to talk about Mercer and Ellison and you know, some of the.
He will be talked about, Andrew. He will be talked about with old Stevie Coppell, because Stevie Coppell holds a record at Maine Road that no one knows. Can you guess the record?
Least games managed, fewest games managed. Yeah,
he managed 2 games at Maine Road.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's going to be.
We're going to have some fun with this.
Yeah, because you're gonna get into the fact where we, you know, people probably don't comprehend it nowadays when we've had a manager for 8 seasons, but we pretty much got a new manager every season for about 20 years. I mean, I remember when I started out, we had Bond and Beresford and Frizzle and McNeil, and you know, and then you know, we had people filling in for a couple of games in between, and then we went through that period where we had 4 managers in about 6 months. We had Phil Neal and Steve Coppell and Frank Clark and Alan Ball all within, you know, months of each other, and Clark didn't last that long.
I mean, Rich, I don't want to say it. I mean, we're going to talk about, don't forget, members giveaway in less than 5 minutes. We are going to talk about some greats, obviously Kevin Keegan, we're going to talk about Joe Royal, talk about Malcolm Allison, we'll talk about Joe Mercer, talk about some of the greats, some of the hits, some of the misses. But also one week we're going to talk about the achievements and the trophies, because believe it or not, City did win trophies. We have got a history. I know people don't believe that. We're also going to talk about some of the greatest players one week. We'll talk about some of the worst players one week. We'll talk about things. We'll get guests on. It's going to be a fun show. It might not be one of the most popular ones. We recognise that. But what we want to do in the Mancunian way is give you something so we can come in here and say, he might be signing, he might not be signing. Everyone goes into meltdown. No point, because nothing we can do. I've always said we'll talk about it when there is news. Or when I don't just want to come on and guest. I know, Rich, you have to go, mate. Take care. I'll do the thing without you, don't worry.
Yeah, excellent. Look forward to talking about this again, and see you on Thursday.
When we talk about more
modern
stuff. Modern stuff, yes.
Yeah, modern stuff.
See you Thursday, mate.
Take care. Thanks, everyone.
So we'll do that as well. See if we can get on. But there's going to be loads to give away on this sort of trip. Loads of things coming up on Maine Road days. But now, like I said, I recognise they won't be the most popular because they're not for everyone. Some people don't want to talk about the past, but we do. I'm going to try and get Big Steve on as well, because this was originally where I wanted to go with it. But obviously, Big Steve's away in Euros and he's busy, and I don't like disturbing. But yeah, we'll try and get him on. Ian Cheeseman, these different people as well. But what I want to do is now members giveaway. We're either going to do the DVDs, which will be all different, which I have got from eBay. They're not from mine. They're in pristine condition. There's not a tear or anything with them. My sister's neighbour was Rich Hedgel. Okay. He had a black convertible thing, and he lived on Roland Barneslet Estate. Obviously, my sister doesn't live there anymore. She's moved out. It was a long time ago. Right, I'm just going to get up our members list and we'll do the giveaway. But I need to get it up. Let me get it up now. Get rid of that. You don't want that up. Continue in the app. While that's doing that. Members. Right, there are 100. There's 123 members now. It was at 200 yesterday. A few people must have over the last couple of days. A few must have had a lot of their renewals cancelled, but not to worry. Don't worry about it. But what I'm going to do is there's 123. So we'll go with that, members. 123 members. So I'm just going to put in the randomizer now. Number 1 all the way to 123, and they will be the winners. Right. So as you can see, 123. I'm just going to randomize it right now. $32 is the winner. 32. So 32 is so 32. So 8, 29, 30, 31, 32. It is Jay Crawford. So whoever Jay Crawford is, if you can, get in touch with us. You want to get in touch with us, Jay Crawford. We will, if you don't want the DVDs, we can give them away to somebody else and we'll sort you out a different price to the equivalent of what we spent. Don't forget, you can go on savageonlinestores.co.uk for all your footballing needs as well. And what I'll do as well, I'm going to try and get an intro just to Main Road Days. I'll speak to my person who does all the graphics, etc. But Jay Crawford, please email us at mancunianway1894@gmail.com, and you have been the monthly membership giveaway. Don't forget, from next month, the competition winners will be a guest on that month's show, which will be with Pat, Ozzy, and Rich. I wasn't going to mention this, but I need to mention it. You may not see Ozzy for a little while. Ozzy's dealing with some very, very stressful family stuff. His mother is really unwell. I want to send all our love, thoughts, and prayers to Ozzy and his family, especially at this difficult time. So you may not see Ozzy now for a little while. He's really dealing with it bad. I want to send love and thoughts to his mother, to his family, to everyone involved. And I'm sure everyone on here sends him the best as well. But yeah, we're praying for you, Oz. We're looking after you, mate, and we hope she fights through it. My daddy's now out of hospital. Just give you an update. He is out, fine. We'll see how things go. But yes, like I say, here we go. Best wishes, Oz. I knew it was going to come. Andrew, OAS, thank you, Oz. Massive thank you, by the way, to MCFC, Kyle, AK4P, for not just membership, your super chat, Connor Rugby, Mark Fogg, for renewing your memberships as well. You are all legends. I know this is new, but it will be every Monday, 10 p.m, live on the Mancunian Way, Main Road Days, episode 2. Next week, we are talking managers that have graced us with their presence at Main Road. Appreciate that, Blue Art. Anyway, give it a smash, though. Give it a big smash. Things help. If you are new, come and hit the old subscribers. We start a march to 5K. If you are new, we welcome you. Welcome to the family. We've always said it's your channel. And we'll see you Thursday night, around about 10 p.m. with Thursday night chat. There's no updates regarding Bruno Gomes. Looks like City don't want to pay the 100. We'll see what happens. It's still a long, long way to go. But what to do something apart from transfers. A little bit of nostalgia. Take care, all. See you on the next one.